You are listening to the Built to Grow podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Built to Grow podcast. I'm your host, Tim Lyons, in the studio. The Built to Grow headquarters here in Scottsdale, Arizona. Joined as always by Randy Angson. What's up, guys?
Dude, it's official on Facebook and Instagram now. Did you notice?
I saw the check-in location.
Yeah, we've been fighting this for a while because, I mean, we do this often, right? So every time we check in, we try to use those, and we finally conditioned social media to realize we're in the headquarters.
Dude, I'm telling you, but how cool is this?
Oh, what?
Name that tune. Name that tune.
If you don't get that right, I would be upset.
How awesome is that?
You can't sit here.
Nostalgia. Awesome. So there's a little Super Mario Brothers for you. A couple things to talk about are CLA, our Client Lifecycle Automation Workshop, the 2-dayer, October 6th and 7th. You need to get in this. I think we have like 6 gyms right now. We'll take up to 10. So there's only 4 spots. If you want to get in, how do they do it?
pfmarketingsolutions.com/automation. It's another one.
That's another one.
winninggym.com/workshop is the other.
Oh, geez. I would say get on a call. There's gonna be show links in the show notes. Just jump on a call because there's a lot of confusion about what it is.
Sure. Yeah. So if you're not ready and you want to discuss things, then jump on a call with me. pfmarketingsolutions.com/call.
For sure. Okay, so let's talk about today. This episode, we're going to talk about podcasting for local businesses and if you should do it or not. First off, should you do it?
100%.
Okay. A lot of clients that we've worked with, we've pushed into doing podcasts. I know Bo, our friend Bo, is doing one in Ohio. Dimitri in Canada. Jay in South Carolina's got one. Jerry and Casey. They have the Fit in 42.
Even our good buddy Rick
Mayo's got the podcast.
Rocking and rolling.
He's killing it. So congrats to Rick. He's like 50-something episodes in. Still 100 behind us, though, buddy.
Just catch up, bro.
So let's talk about some pros and cons and why you should do one and why you don't. Oh, and by the way, we have one here at Pulse, Healthy Living Scottsdale. We went hyper-focused with our name because we are a local business, so we wanted to throw the city in there just to help search engines and kind of show people we're a local business. So here's a couple of question marks that a lot of people have as to whether or not they should do a podcast. Number one is, will people want to listen to me? That's always seems to be the biggest one. Like they feel like either they're imposter syndrome going on.
Sure.
They don't think that maybe they're the smartest coach or in the sciences behind it. Or if I only have a couple things to say, what if I run out of content? Do I have the time for it? How much is it? So let's go through kind of some of these things. And
sure.
you talked to Bo. Like this, give a great example about Bo. Like he came to you and said,
he came to me. So Bo is a past coaching client of ours, and obviously he's a big fan of the podcast and the things that we've been able to do here. And so he just scheduled a call with me, and he wanted to pick my brain on whether or not he should host a podcast. And some of those questions came to light, right? Bo, even back from when we were coaching him, right, he had a little bit of those insecurities. I don't want to say some of his self-worth just wasn't there for the service he provided. It was easy for us standing on the side of it saying, absolutely, man, people are willing to pay for your services, willing to listen to what you have to say. He's educated, he knows his stuff. It was just an internal dilemma. So that carried over into the podcast, right, to the same thing. Do people want to listen to me? Will people listen to what I have to say? And I think absolutely. Regardless of your message, regardless of really, how in depth, how in tune, somebody is going to tune in, somebody is going to listen. And ultimately, you're never going to know if you don't try.
That's absolutely
if you don't take
true.
the shot. And so we worked through the conversation, we talked specifics. We talked about how we got started, the equipment that we use. Guys, these are very nice microphones. We've got, camera equipment and lighting. We obviously, for those that know us from YouTube, we also do video. Yeah, we spent some money, when we got started, but that's not a must. It's not a requirement in order to get into the game. And so we discussed it with him, and I was like, people are starting podcasts. Kids, people all over the world are starting podcasts with nothing more than their iPhone and literally their input jack and a microphone, right from Apple. You know what I mean? It doesn't doesn't need to be perfect in order to get started. And so throughout that conversation with Bo, most of it just came down to the fact that everything was in alignment and it was a pure, obvious yes answer.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing holding him back was just himself.
Should I?
Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was funny because obviously, Bo, being a business owner himself, respects our time. He's paid us for our coaching in the past. And so at the end of that call, he asked me what he could do to pay me for, it was like 15 minutes of my time or something. Mm-hmm. And I said, you can launch a podcast.
Yeah, just do it.
I mean, literally, like that would be the most gratifying thing he could provide for me. And so I'm very happy to announce that Bo does have his podcast launched.
It's called Stay Sore.
Stay Sore. Yep. And we can even link to that if we'd like.
Yeah.
We'll
give him a little plug.
Bo's a great guy.
So let's talk some obvious benefits. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You guys listening to this podcast right now, we have your attention. You're listening. You have the attention of the, I guess, consumer or the market.
Audience.
Or your prospect for a set amount of time. Maybe it's 15 minutes, maybe it's 30 minutes, depending on the length of your show. I don't know of another medium where you have full attention of your prospects for that set amount of time without the distractions. I think you hear about the attention span of the market today is like 7 seconds. It's like the same as a goldfish. Maybe 50 years ago it was like 7 minutes. Now it's 7 seconds. But when you bring the podcast life into it, now we're getting attention for 15, 20, 30 straight minutes.
You know what dawned on me? The last episode that we did when we talked about marketing, being able to control the conversation, it's because it's value driven. We're giving information away. Podcasts are educational. They're informative. The value is always slighted towards the consumer in my eyes, right? It's not 20 minutes of buy my stuff.
Sales pitch.
It's not a sales pitch.
There's plenty.
I mean,
of
there
podcasts,
are,
yeah.
and there are some that are positioned that way, but they're not going to have frequent listeners that tune into every episode, right? So if in order to keep your client engaged, you have to deliver value.
Mm-hmm.
So it just dawned on me as you were going through that, but that's exactly why anyone who produces a podcast can keep somebody's attention because they're teaching or providing value.
Sure. So if you listen to the last episode of that long-term strategy, we're talking about blog content. That's the same exact way you would create podcast episodes.
Yeah.
What are your clients asking you on the training floor? What shoes should I wear? How often should I train? How to build muscle? How to lose fat? What's high intensity interval training? Well, nutrition-based stuff, sleep-based stuff, mindset-based stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk about so much stuff when it comes to a fitness, gym, local business podcast, and it should be very easy. So let me teach you or tell you how we do it here, and you guys can take, what we do and model it the same way. I'm not involved in the Pulse Fitness podcast, and that's by design. I wanted my team to take ownership of it. Zach's taking the reins. He brings in the other two coaches into this podcast, and we sit at the same table. We already have the studio, so it made a lot of sense. It's easy, but they come up with the topics on their own. They set up a schedule, and then they set and block out times every single week to come in and record. Now, we go a little bit further with it, and we actually use Ryan and Daxie at Legacy Podcasting. So those are the folks that we use to master the audio, get the cover designs and all that stuff, the show notes, and put it out there to the world.
Distribution.
I didn't want my team or us having to learn and do all that stuff on our own, so we hired coaches to do that. They've done such a great job for us with the Built to Grow podcast that we just leverage them to do the same Healthy Living Scottsdale podcast. So those are two things, leverage your team. If you want to be the host as a gym owner and you've got the time, cool. You be the host. But I think I like the style of the co-host, host, co-host kind of situation. We have two kind of co-hosts, and the other one we have three coaches, and it's a really cool vibe, and we bounce ideas off each other. And I was talking to Daxie. He actually had me on his show and talking about the reason why I like the way we were doing it. Before we started the Built to Grow podcast, I listened to so many podcasts, and I try to analyze the format and who I liked and what kept me interested. And I kept coming back to Andy Frisella and the MFCEO podcast. And from that show, he has him and Vaughn. And I was like, that's such a great way.
Yeah.
And then I also said, you know what? Joe Rogan has a great setup too. And that's where we kind of took the microphones and the setup in the studio from Joe Rogan
Yeah.
and the model of the podcast from Andy Frisella, and we made our own.
Yeah.
And since then, like Rick, our friend at Allo, he likes this style, so he brought in one of his guys, Matt, is kind of the idea, the bounce ideas back and forth and have this open dialogue. But you could essentially do a solo podcast.
Absolutely.
I think, isn't that what Bo's doing?
I think Bo is. I think Jay is.
You can also bring in people to interview.
Absolutely.
So that's like the interview style. So there's a lot of different ways to do podcasts, that like the model of it. And you know, if you listen to ours for any length of time, you've done a solo one on this when I was tied up. We've had guests in studio, we've had guests on Zoom, and most of our podcasts are like this, me and you. And so think about how you want that done and start there. I mean, maybe it's just you talking about stories from the clients in your gym.
Yeah.
I had a great question came up the other day and I want to talk about it on the show. And that question came from, Marty Johnson here in Newport, Rhode Island, and blah blah blah, and it was this question. And so that's where I would start. I would come up with, how do you want the format to be? Is it going to be a solo one? Do you want to have a co-host? Do you want to bring your coaches in? Do you want to bring clients in?
Who your audience is.
Well, who your audience is, yeah.
Because it's not necessarily, because like even our client, I mean, even the gym owners that we're working with, some of their questions were kind of muddy. I guess like their vision was still a little muddy, right? Because they have gifts to give and they've got great value. When I spoke to Dimitri, for example, he wanted to kind of blend the health and fitness end user, right? Like Bo's, like Healthy Living Scottsdale, where we're giving your average Gen Pop fitness and nutrition advice, things in the fitness realm. But also at the same time, he wanted to speak to the gym owner and give business advice on how to grow their business. And I said, well, really, there's no opportunity, there's no way for you to capitalize on a single audience that is going to appeal to both.
No way.
And so I said, let's play with the greatest, the place you're going to spend the most time right now. Let's start there. And then eventually, if you want, you can segment and do another one. Because ultimately, I mean, you have to know who you're speaking to if you're going to get started.
Yes.
It's not just your story. I mean, you could write a book. I mean, you could almost do it like a book or like a autobiography, I guess, if you wanted. But I think if you have more to give as far as the end user and giving them knowledge and how it's going to impact their lives, that's what's going to get people to help tune in. That's
a great point. Yeah. We always, before every show, we always kind of think about our, like, Built to Grow and who we're speaking to. And every time we have a guest, I brief them on who they're speaking to, because that's everything. If they don't position, or if they're talking about something that has nothing to do to what your listeners are interested in, they're gone. Those listeners are going to tune out.
Yeah, I mean, we've even had, I can't remember who, and they never went too far off, but we had to kind of steer them back. Like, we are speaking to the owners and the business side of the business, not our clients, or not the general population walking into a gym. You know what I mean? It's the business side of the business.
Sure.
So. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so, okay, always start with your audience in mind and who you're going to speak to. So the benefit is, there's lots of benefits, but you're going to educate your clients or your market, and you're going to get the attention, okay? What's the repercussion or the result of these things? You buy, or you get trust. You build trust from your market. So some of the coolest things that happen, and we've gotten clients directly from the podcast come into the gym and sign up for memberships. They will be your easiest ones to sell. And you're not even selling. They're just coming to sign up.
It's formality, yeah.
They know, like, and trust you as the gym owner so much, and your training team so much, they just can't wait to get here. And it's such a cool thing. And we hear it all the time. You're Zach? You're the one that's on the show? That's so, like, I can't, because you said this in this episode, and that really spoke to me. And you're just putting this content out there, and you're letting it do its thing. It's going to hit the right person when it needs to. And so the one of the biggest challenges that most podcasters face is that lag time between the time they get these episodes out until they start seeing a return on investment.
Sure.
And that's why, on average, podcasters die at 7 episodes is the average, because they're not in it for the long term. They want to do an episode today and have clients coming in tomorrow.
Yeah,
does not work.
This is not direct response.
No, going into this, 100%, you're going to be about 30 episodes deep before you even start to see a return. that was the way it was at the Built to Grow podcast. We were about 30 episodes in, and then we started hearing people that we'd never met before had listened to the show, and they wanted to work with us.
Yeah,
very cool.
Mm-hmm.
But we knew it. We knew we were in this thing, and we had to just stay focused on the prize. At the Built to Grow podcast, about 15 to 17 episodes in.
The Pulse?
The Pulse podcast was about 15 to 17 or so episodes. We track it. So you know that you're into this thing for, if you're doing once a week, 17 to 20 weeks. If you're doing twice a week shows, it's going to be half that time. Just know it's a long-term game, but you have to be consistent.
Yeah.
When you're consistent, and those of you listening, Tuesdays and Thursdays are our episode release dates. You start to build that kind of routine. When somebody knows it's Tuesday, they know that our show's coming out, and they know Thursday is the same thing. Pick your days, stick with your days, go the long term, and just go do it. Go do it.
Absolutely. And just one more thing. I mean, we talk about all the time is the ability to communicate with your end user, your prospects, your potential clients. Mm-hmm. There is no better medium to build that like, trust, and respect factor.
No way.
I've been saying it for years. It's throw up a video on a Facebook ad or a Facebook post. Yeah, you want people to engage and watch the whole thing, but you're scrolling Facebook. Like you need to keep my attention really damn tight, really fast, really hard, or I'm moving on. A podcast, it's not like we're just bouncing around and losing attention and things like that. But ultimately, the conversation with the end user is the goal. That is the objective of this, is to deliver that information, create that like, trust, and respect factor through a change of belief, through somebody's buy-in, give away the value, like teach, help change somebody else's life through the information you're providing. Then you can ask for the sale when it comes.
Yeah. If you guys want to use our podcast, guys, Legacy Podcasting, you just reach out to them. I don't know their web, probably Legacy Podcasting.
I bet they could put it in our show notes.
Yeah, they'll put it in the show notes. They'll be the first ones to put it in. Just tell them you heard us talking about it, and you wanted to see what they can do for you. I would tell you that you could learn all this stuff. We had a little bit of a learning curve with the software we used to download the audio, but once we figured it out, I mean, it takes us 30 seconds to a minute and a half to get set up, sit in the chair, and start.
Yeah. After
it's done, we probably have 10 minutes of work, and then we're on to the next show, or we're on with our day. Mm-hmm. And so when you build a system that way, you can constantly, you can always be on schedule and get your content out. And that's something else. They keep us on schedule too.
Yeah.
Because what you don't want to have happen is you blast out 5 or 6 episodes, and then it's 3 months until you're just basically starting over again.
Yeah.
So I really think it's smart to be consistent and just bring valuable content to the marketplace, and then share it with everybody. Share it with your clients. Absolutely. Put it on Facebook, put it in your emails, tell your clients at the gym. They'll share it to their friends, and that's how you get clients, because your clients are already your clients.
Yep.
When they share it with their friends and they see it, and then they start to listen in, and now they know why their friend is training with you, they're going to come in and start training with you. It works, guys. And if it takes you an hour, an episode of your real time, is that not worth new client? Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. So return on investment, time, money.
It's such a no-brainer. I know why people don't do it, because they're scared. They don't know what they're going to sound like on audio. They don't know if they should do video. They don't know what to say. Do people want to listen to me? There's all these reasons why, but if you don't try it, you're never going to do it, and you'll never know. I mean, you may do it, and it may suck. I mean, I bet you I know ours sucked in the beginning. We were scared, nervous. We didn't know what we were doing. They probably still suck. I don't know. You guys, by the way, give us a nice review on the Apple iTunes. That always helps. So,
a nice review.
Yeah, 5-star. Please. But so yeah, I think did we tell them enough?
I think that's it. If you have questions, let's jump on a call. That's what ultimately what we're here for. We're here to help. We're gonna send them off.
Yeah. We're here to help you guys.
So pfmarketingsolutions.com/call. If you have any questions, jump on a call. I'll gladly give you some insight into how we got started. Connect you with those guys if you need to. But we want to leave you with some value for sure.
Yeah, for
this
sure.
Is a huge. And on that note,
just messing around today, guys. Go do it, guys. There's so many gyms out there already doing it, and if your competitor down the street's doing it already, you're already behind. Go beat them to the punch. They're gonna do it eventually, so just do it now, and just get out there, guys. I can't. And paralysis by analysis happens to entrepreneurs all the time. I would tell you that action trumps perfection 100% of the time. You're never going to be perfect, so don't stop. Don't take action because you want it to be perfect. It won't be perfect. You can perfect it, but you won't be perfect when you start. So this is just your kick in the butt, helping gym owners win. Go out and do your local business podcast and get it out there.
Yeah, do something different, right? I mean, in a world where everyone's trying the same things, there's not a lot of people jumping into a podcast realm.
Yeah,
but it will be. But they will be.
Eventually, there's still going to be people that never do it because they're in their own head.
Sure.
It took us a while to get off the ground.
Yeah.
It did. I mean, I'll be honest. We wanted to do it. I was like, In fact, I was anti. I was so against it. It was like, I don't want to be another one of those guys that does podcast. But I really enjoy it now, and we get such good feedback from our audience that you guys love it. You guys know the dates. Whenever we talk about it, great episode.
Yeah.
I get text messages, and we appreciate it. I love the text messages. When you guys text me, or if you're my friend on Facebook or whatever, and you send me a DM, just telling us what you thought of the episode. Like, it's so, I mean,
that's validate. That is 100% why I enjoy sitting in this seat.
Yeah,
is to continue
it drives
to do
us
that.
forward.
Absolutely.
If we didn't get any feedback, it might be kind of tough.
Sure.
But we get some good feedback, and again, we appreciate you guys listening. 156 episodes now. Is that right?
I think today's 157.
157.
I think.
Lost count. It gets harder and harder to come up with topics, guys, after you've done 150-something episodes.
Yeah, you have no excuse. Go start a podcast now. When you're sitting 155 deep and you're trying to figure out what to talk about,
man,
then give us a call back and we'll bounce ideas off each other.
In fact, help us out by telling us what you guys want to hear about, because it's come out of our heads every single week. But we got some good shows coming up already lined up in advance, and that's one of the things that I would suggest you do is kind of plan out some episodes. It's really easy to plan out a bunch in the beginning. Probably your first 25 episodes you have no problem. Once you get past 25, maybe it starts getting a little bit more difficult. You just have to listen a little bit harder.
Listen and keep notes. I think the hardest part is we'll have an idea and then we forgot to write down or something like that, and then
What was that idea?
Well, yeah.
You said it was a great show. This would be the best show ever. What was that?
Pounding our head against the wall trying to remember.
Yes. Well, hopefully you guys are having a great week. Until next episode, keep changing lives and go launch your podcast. See you. Bye.